Welcome, everyone. We're still standing, or sitting.
We're still here.
Today's August 19th, year 2017. Can you believe that? We're all in the dark of the eclipse, and Mercury's retrograde. So I'm amazed you guys made it. Lots of people are hiding in their cave right now. So I got this phrase for tonight's presentation. The Love Olympics. How many of you have been feeling like you've been trying to pole vault to a higher level of love, and you keep not quite making it over the bar? But with this profound emphasis on the Leo 9 gateway, we had the new moon in Leo on July 22nd, which set the tone for the building wave of the power of love through the heart, being an opportunity for us to clear that bar that we've set at the higher dimensional level of the power of love moving through us as we connect with what in Oriental sacred text is called the diamond heart. Anyone familiar with the diamond heart? The diamond heart is that diamond that forms in the center of the heart chakra. It becomes an immovable force and power over incarnations as it's faceted through the experience of incarnation into a jewel that is brilliant and can radiate out that power, the power of love under any and all circumstances. So if we've been feeling a little tested in our will or commitment to love, that's the process through which that diamond is faceted and turned and becomes the jewel of the diamond heart. So since we are in the dark of the eclipse now, the initiations that have been occurring since the end of July are now coming to full clarity, and we're being prepared for the turning point of the solar eclipse on Monday. So if many of you are feeling like in a retrograde process, reviewing, and things that had not quite cleared the bar coming up now for clarification in preparation for that turning point in our global history, in your own personal history, that's the process that is preparing us for the opportunity of that massive turning point we're calling the solar eclipse. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar astronomically of what occurs during a solar eclipse. Anyone not clear about that? What I've always imagined the eclipse as this black point in the sky. But has anyone ever seen a total eclipse of the sun? Okay, well, if you have, or you've seen pictures of it, right? It looks like a flat, dark, black hole, right? But just a couple of days ago, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. That is not a flat plane, because that's the moon inserting herself over the disk of the sun. And the moon is this big round object, right? So what we're actually looking at, even though we can't see it, is actually a black dome, the dark side of the moon, the shadow of the moon. The moon always casts a shadow, so it's not unusual, right? We're just, during the eclipse, we're able to actually witness and become aware of the shadow, particularly in the arena or area of the total eclipse, as it intersects with the Earth. The Earth also has a shadow. Every night we enter the Earth's shadow. So the moon shadow is the side of the moon that we never see. It's the mysterious, deep, profound, and powerful part of the moon that is only perceived on the psychic and emotional level. The sun tends to dominate us because it's the outer eye. Whenever the sun's out, our eyes dominate our senses. But when you close your eyes, and you enter the shadow, the other senses become dominant. Our psychic, emotional, and intuitive senses. So the dark side of the moon is the counterpart to the eyes dominating the solar energy, the sun, dominating our consciousness, where we look outward. The outer eye looks outward to our environment and the world around us for confirmation and awareness. The inner eye is turned inward, so we become aware of the inner workings of our nature. So the solar eclipse drives that point home. Now the symbol I was given for the solar eclipse, if you imagine that little black dot at the end of a sentence, the punctuation mark, well, that little punctuation mark, if you magnify it as a cosmic punctuation mark in the sky, that's what it is. And that punctuation mark can be the end of a sentence, a paragraph, a chapter, or even an entire novel. So it marks a completion point of a certain state of consciousness. But when that giant cosmic punctuation mark opens the gateway, it opens the opportunity for an entirely new novel to begin. So we're right at the point now of writing the last sentence and approaching that punctuation point on the experiential initiations we've been through, particularly this month, but for a long period of time. And being prepared for an entirely new chapter of our beingness to begin. Now this particular solar eclipse occurs at a very powerful point in the sky because it's very close to the royal star of Regulus. The royal star of Regulus has been associated with those who are head and shoulder above and have qualified themselves through the power of love to be a shining light to their tribe, nation, or the world at large. We call that kingship or queenship. Now the interesting thing about Regulus is that these stars appear to move because of the precession of the equinoxes over time, 1 degree every 72 years. So they will be located in one particular astrological sign for like 2,160 years. So Regulus, the star of rulership, has been in the sign of Leo since about 150 BC. And if anyone knows your history, that was about the time of the rise of the Roman Empire. And the archetype of the emperor, the king, as ruler, came into global consciousness. So all the mythologies around King Arthur and the king or queen being royal and everyone else bowing down to them, this has all been part of the evolution of human consciousness in terms of rulership. But in 2011, the star Regulus began to shift into Virgo. So it started a whole new 2,160-year phase of the reinvention of those who are qualified to be in positions of rulership or responsibility. I went into this some in my last talk, but the sign of Virgo is stepping down from the throne and becoming one of the people. So we started seeing that in the presidential elections where the politicians took off the coat and tie and rolled up their sleeves to appear like one of us. The reason I'm mentioning this is because this particular solar eclipse occurs at close to 29 degrees of Leo. And that 29 degrees of Leo actually is a marker for the age that has ended. And we've needed one last teaching or demonstration of the age that's ended. And who would show up for that grand teaching? Does anyone realize that Donald Trump has 29 degrees Leo rising? So that's his personality. It's almost like the universe or the cosmos stepped in and says, we need one final demonstration here of what has ended, this age of kingship that has ended. So So we're going to make sure that Donald Trump is elected so he can really demonstrate how done we are with that model. So when I saw that, I says, this has got to be, I started laughing about that. So it was a real interesting confirmation, because many times the greatest teachers that we have are those who show us what not to do, or that a particular way of being with ourselves and the world around us is really done. So the solar eclipse tends to set the tone, the new novel beginning, for the following 6 months until the next solar eclipse, but particularly for the month that follows. And Donald Trump then is the archetype that we are dealing with as an opportunity for initiation into the true heart. Each one of us has an inner Donald Trump. Maybe we could exclude the women in the room, but particularly in relationship to the patriarchal state of being that has really governed the planet for the last 2,000 years. It's really achieves its pinnacle in this Regulan archetype, really now shifting into Virgo, where there's a certain level of humility and willingness to recognize one's essential worth and value as being your guiding principle. So Virgo is an interesting sign, because I was just shown that most people who are Virgos really don't have an excellent opinion of themselves, because they're not really shining like the Leo was. But what I realized is that Virgo is actually full of Leo. They're actually full of Leo, so the love that overflows from the heart of Leo is what moves them into service. So the shift of into Virgo is the overflowing of that love that we've become, because we've become that shining, brilliant light in Leo, and we can't help but share that light of our own with others, and that leads us into being there for others in a service-oriented way. So that's kind of the transition we're in now, and the beauty of this eclipse is that Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, is retrograde in Virgo in his own sign. So we're having this opportunity to fully self-realize the diamond heart within us that overflows then into natural service to others, and perfecting the diamond light that we've realized within ourselves through putting ourselves in service to others. Right now, it's difficult to look beyond the eclipse, because the eclipse is so powerful. It's like a point of no return. So once the eclipse occurs on Monday, then the location of Mercury, even though it's retrograde, will then really open doorways through which we can then share that diamond light with others. So if any of you are not feeling like the doors have opened for you to share the gifts that you carry, that door is about to swing wide open. And there are certain dates here that are pivotal dates for the grounding of that solar light, the grounding of the new intention to function from the level of the diamond heart, really taking form and taking shape. Mercury will be retrograde through September 4th, and happens to be turning backward right to the eclipse point, because Virgo right now is just beyond the eclipse point in Virgo, but she's going retrograde. She's backing up to the last degrees of Leo, where the solar eclipse on Monday will occur. And when this occurs, this will be a 2-week-long process, as Mercury shifts back into Leo on the last day of August, and then we'll go direct on September 4th in the last degrees of Leo, sitting basically on the degree of the eclipse. So this is an extended eclipse window that offers the opportunity for us to really sit with the depth of the changes that's occurred, so that our conscious minds, Mercury, can really begin to comprehend the nature of the change that's occurred. But if we haven't gained clarity until the first week of September, stay with the process. Retrogrades always deepen the process of our own inner awareness, so that by the time he goes direct, we have much greater clarity about the nature of our inner workings. So when a planet, particularly Mercury, is retrograde, the universe is asking us to slow down. It's kind of like your car breaking down, and then you're having to walk to the store, right? But in walking to the store, you need to notice all kinds of things you didn't even notice before, because you had slowed down enough not to drive by them. So even though it's a little frustrating, there's this kind of revelation process, and you become much more aware of the inner workings of your own nature and how to apply that new and more empowered diamond heart in a realistic and tangible way in service to others around you. But it's from a full heart that you find that service really blossoming. And then Mars will actually conjunct that solar eclipse point also on the 2nd and 3rd of September. So we're having a double whammy here. And Mars in the solar eclipse chart is in Leo, trining Saturn in Sagittarius, conjunct Lilith, and Eris in Aries. The dominant signature of the solar eclipse chart actually is Saturn being within minutes conjunct Lilith, the dark moon Lilith. Anyone familiar with the dark moon Lilith? When we look at Donald Trump's chart, because he is the living archetype as teacher for all of us during this current initiation, Saturn is at 21 degrees Sagittarius, 12 minutes during the eclipse. Donald Trump's moon is at 21 degrees Sag, 12 minutes. Applying into an eclipse on the day of his birth. And his south node is also right there with the moon at 20 degrees 48 minutes. So, and on top of that, Saturn's direct, but Saturn is retrograde, but he's slowing down. He's basically at a dead standstill. So he's slowly sitting on that degree for at least 2 or 3 weeks, right on Trump's moon. And so, we have this mind-blowing, it's like, the universe, the cosmos just said, Trump is going to illustrate this for us. This is the nature of this turning point in history, from the Leo 9 Regulus age to the Virgo age. He's going to bring it out fully into the open. I normally don't do this, but there's a description here of Lilith. Let's see if I can pull it up. That is so apropos to the initiation process we've gone through that I think it will really deepen our understanding of the nature of the initiation. And this is the opportunity of Lilith in Sagittarius. So Lilith in Sagittarius, which entered Sagittarius in February 14th, shortly after the inauguration, has been the tone that we've seen demonstrated in the entire consciousness battle that's been going on in the White House and in America at large. And because it's so tied into Trump's chart, this kind of describes the nature of the opportunity. Lilith and Sagittarius. In the person's opinion, the whole world is only waiting to kneel before his greatness and only aspires to receive spiritual food from his hands. Being absolutely certain of his huge organizational skills and his infallible authority, such a person believes that he simply cannot make mistakes, because mistakes are the lot of mortals, not gods. Remember, we all have an inner Donald Trump now. Okay. He tends to oppress those who oppose his authority or threaten his sphere of influence. The person may be unpredictable, rapacious. He may have a penchant for shocking behaviors, as well as for adventurism and conspiracies involving large numbers of people. He claims the role of a leader, of a grandmaster, and of a messiah, and easily falls into megalomania. Okay, the inferior level. The person has a huge ego, a lot of vanity and great ambitions. He aspires to power and luxury at all costs, and is an active consumer who aims at winning it all. What was Trump's whole slogan? It's all about winning, right? This is the karma of a great adventurer, a false prophet, an ideological saboteur, or an imposter of a teacher who took merits for the achievements of others. In a previous life, the person could have been a politician, a scientist, or a religious leader who used his influence with malicious intents. In this, he is easily convinced by ideological propaganda and tends to mislead other people himself by preaching false doctrines. And who else was involved with this whole dynamic? Steve Bannon, right? Y'all right? So Steve Bannon could also fit this archetype as a reflection of Trump. He also has a tendency for contempt, often exhibits the attitude of a braggart, and will be prompt to attribute his own weaknesses to others. He will justify his own acts at all costs and will repress those under his influence. Wow, okay. So we needed a demonstration of the inferior level of Lilith and Sagittarius so we could finally begin to raise our consciousness to the more awakened medicine levels of this Lilith and Sagittarius. Now the intermediate level, the person himself may become a victim of false teachers. And we're seeing that with Bannon being finally relieved from his position. Be manipulated by ideological propaganda or lose his authority through blindness or hubris. He may suffer from the oscillations typical of Hamlet personality type or be quite exasperated when fate seems to be offering him something only to end up divesting it from him. In a previous life, the person has abused his powers and position, using them for unworthy and selfish purposes. He was too proud and disrespectful with people or followed false teachings. In this life, he constantly is suffering persecution and injustice from governmental and religious structures. The problems for him come from foreigners. He faces high risks of accidents during long journeys as well as from fire. Such a person should not get involved in spreading an ideology. He should content himself with being a follower, a mediator, and refrain from teaching to others despite the desire he may feel to do so. The mediating influence is actually coming from Jupiter in Libra, squaring Pluto right now. So he's learning the hard way at this point that being a petty tyrant and succumbing to the emotional black hole of Lilith and Sagittarius as a messiah seeking followers is not working for him. So the advanced level, the superior level, At this level, the person immediately unmasks false teachers, careerists, unscrupulous politicians, and recognizes distortions in spiritual teachings. In a previous life, he got to know the negative side of power, saw the influence of the dark forces in the political and religious structures of society, but he did not succumb to temptations. He now sees, now he deliberately exposes heresies, superstitions, and lies in politics and ideologies. He fights against corruption and venality in society. At this level, the person acquires the ability to see the current situation very clearly and to come up with the necessary ideas at the proper moment, all without effort. So the response to the dark side of Lilith, Saturn, has been the social movements that have arisen, punctuated by Charlotte and other instances here, that have opened the door for us to discern the true teaching that we want to share with others, and open our hearts and share from the heart level a teaching that's oriented toward all, including all of us, rather than isolating us as the dark side of Lilith and Saturn and Sagittarius would do, and polarizing us against one another. So if you're feeling the temptation to polarize against a certain person or group of people, that's the temptation that's being challenged right now in remaining and keeping our hearts open to finding the diamond heart within us that will empower us to recognize that we're all in this together, and that somehow, even if we do rise with a loud voice and stand against that which is obviously way out of balance, that we do so in a way that does not perceive those who are trapped in the darkness as our enemy, but that we perceive them as lost brothers and sisters who need to have someone clearly voice a different opinion so that they can find their way back home. Has that been a challenge for anyone here? Yeah, to not polarize. Yeah. So I'm quite fascinated about this particular archetype playing itself out so beautifully through Donald Trump. And when we are on the verge of a breakthrough, many times we need one last reminder of what we're done with. It's so dramatic and so perfectly orchestrated that we know that we're not just 98% done with that particular way or consciousness of being, that we're 110% done with it. And it drives that memory into soul history so deeply that we will never return to that distorted view or way of being again, because the teaching is so clear and loud and profound. So we have to thank Donald Trump for that, because obviously he's demonstrating that what has no longer any true value for the next stage of our evolution in dramatic terms. So I'll be watching to see how this whole Trump drama plays out, and who stands up and offers an opportunity for the next phase or stage of breakthrough, not just on the personal level, but on the global level, as we break free of that old archetype. So, do we have any questions at this point? Any comments about the eclipse? Go ahead.
I hear a lot about the 9 days after the eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about that?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, because Mercury is retrograde and we'll be revisiting the eclipse point, we're basically experiencing an extended eclipse window through the first week of September. So we'll be really feeling the intensity of it extended, and then Mars combining also with the eclipse point in the first week of September. The Mercury and Mars will really download or clarify the forward momentum or action needed from that point onward, particularly after September 4th. And usually with an eclipse, it takes about 3 months to fully manifest. So the point here is that don't expect anything to happen on the day of the eclipse. You just sense and know that a deep turning point has occurred. Stay present with it and know that the energetic seed that's been planted deep in your psyche will begin to manifest. It's like planting a seed in the ground. You cover it with dirt, you don't see anything for a while. But if you water it, then about a week or two later you start seeing a sprout emerge from the soil. You know that when you see that first sprout, you realize that something's been going on beyond your conscious mind all that time. You don't dig up the soil to see if the seed is sprouting. You kill it, right? You just leave it alone. and water it and allow it to emerge into the full light of day as the process unfolds. But because of the retrograded Mercury, it's important that we stay with the process. Retrogrades are periods of teachability where we need to be flexible, particularly with Mercury and Virgo, a mutable sign, where the situation will seem to shift and change almost daily, where you're attempting to really apply yourself in an effective manner to express your solar heart, your diamond heart, your creative ability. But it does not seem to be falling into place. And many may just feel like they're just energetically, like somebody's just pulled the plug because of the nature of this combination of Mercury retrograde and the solar eclipse. But that's because a deep inner process is ongoing that may take a week or two to fully begin to manifest in the outer world. By the second week of September, the change is going to be quite dramatic. And you really feel like the doors are now finally open. There's a change that's occurred. You're at a much higher level of conscious relationship to your own solar heart and clearer about how to apply that heart fire, that awakened heart, in the outer world through the medicine that you carry. Because Virgo is about the medicine that you carry, the capacity to be there for others in a healing way.
One thing we all can do into opening that heart is to send Donald Trump love. I mean, he's a soul that just stepped up to give us this really profound lesson. And that is one way we all can open our heart, by sending him love and compassion. I wouldn't want to be him. I mean, it's got to be a burden that's beyond comprehension. So,
yeah. Yes, and love can be very powerful. There's a yang aspect of love that can
I say
stand.
What I pray for him is he finds his heart instead of his heart failing him, which is also potentially this energy could do to him.
Because of the eclipse on his ascendant, which is his physical body.
Yes. So that's what I pray for him, is that he finds his heart in this process.
Excellent. And when you realize that he is a master teacher, then he doesn't stand so alien to all of us. You recognize the opportunity, not just in this country, but globally.
It's profound to have a soul step up like this. We got to honor that. It takes a lot of courage, even though he's narcissistic and he has all those, qualities that are not necessarily redeemable to us. But wow, it's given us an incredible opportunity.
So the archetype that Donald Trump represents, being so centered in the Leonine aspect of love, Leonine aspect of love is realizing the beauty and power of your own diamond heart. And in the less mature levels of Leo, because we're learning to connect with that inner star, that brilliance, because Leo is ruled by the sun, which is our local star. That local star is a symbol of our connection to the source of all. And once that inner sun is ignited, then we begin to become a source of life to others. But in that stage, there's an initial insecurity because we're not completely solidified into the heart chakra. And what confirms that we are really connected with the heart and we're really lighting the lives of others, what would that look like? Wouldn't that look like applause, the amount of applause you get, the amount of recognition that you get? That confirms to that young Leo that they're actually brightening up or lightening up the lives of others. So the younger Leo needs that affirmation through recognition. And that's been Donald Trump's life. He is insecure in the beauty and power of his own beingness and being able to be loved as a person in and of himself. So when a person's in that state in the early Leonine phases, then they will seek places of recognition or acknowledgement, lots of applause, approval, in order to validate their own inner sun. But once you've connected with that inner sun, and you know the brilliance of your being, then you no longer require the recognition or approval from others. That love is there, and it radiates out from the center of your being, regardless of the impact that it has on others around you, or the applause or recognition you receive for it. So that's kind of the archetype that Donald Trump represents, particularly for men who are seeking to confirm or validate their own worth or value by being prominent in their own field through wealth, power, recognition, or status. The king or the prince, who is known for their prominent position, always gets to choose his king, his queen, or princess, right? And obviously all the ladies in the land are dreaming of connecting with the prince. And the symbol for this 29th degree of Leo is a mermaid seeking her prince. So in a way, that's another side of the archetype of Donald Trump's life, of needing to rise to such apparent success, what he calls success, winning all the time, that would guarantee the love, applause, approval, and appreciation of others. When deep down inside, he's constantly insecure and has to gain even more wealth, a prettier wife, a bigger hotel. Becoming president of the United States was the greatest fantasy of young boys. If I become president of the United States, Dad's going to love me, right? I mean, what more could I achieve in order to guarantee the love of my own parents or father, or those who I consider important in my life, than to become president of the United States? So now, now Donald Trump's become president of the United States, and he's won the presidency, but he's not receiving the love that he anticipated or dreamed of receiving. Rising to that incredible plateau, clearing that bar, right? So when that inner security is dominant in that Leo 9 aspect, then there's this impulse to achieve and become even better at your field, become more recognized, in order to guarantee that love that you're seeking will be received. So like I said, everybody has an inner Donald Trump, particularly the men here. So how many of us as men may have gotten caught on that merry-go-round ourselves and felt that, well, I need to get a little more wealthy or recognized in order to really guarantee that the woman I call in or attract really respects me and will hang in there with me because I'm a winner. What if I fall flat on my face and I'm losing, I'm broke? Will she walk away? Or all those inner insecurities in relationship to having our inner sun, our love light, recognized and shared with another. So you can see this tragic comedy unfolding with Trump because of the nature of his quest for love, Leo rising, and how he's gotten caught in the dark shadow of the eyes, the sun, the outer world. Leo being connected with the sun, ruling the outer world, our eyes looking out to the world around us for affirmation of that love, rather than him closing his eyes, needing to go inner on the inward journey and come home to himself. This brother has not come home to himself. He has not gotten off his own case. He has not found that deep peace within himself where he loves and appreciates himself. That's why he's always on the edge. But now, you know, being caught in this position of having all eyes, not just in this world, but in the world, focused on him. This is a grand initiation that will offer him the opportunity for full awakening. So I'm really curious to see what happens with all of this as it unfolds. But, you know, like I said, we can look at Donald Trump or other people in our own lives that represent that ideal or archetype and easily project it on them without realizing we have the same archetype working within ourselves. And once we get out for our own cases and we recognize the king or queen within ourselves, we don't need to rule others in order to have that affirmed. We don't need to have others bow down to us and set us above, head and shoulder above them in order to feel worthy. So the Virgo stage begins to set in when you're so full of that love of self in a healthy way, conscious and healthy ego, that you no longer need to stand head and shoulders above others to feel that you are successful. The victory of the Leonine gateway, when you've really come home to yourself, is what I call a healthy ego. In many traditions, you know, we're taught that in order to advance to the higher levels, you've got to just destroy or let go of the ego. In the Leonine aspect, you realize and develop and recognize the gift and beauty of your individual expression as an aspect of the higher power, where you are unique unto yourself. You are the only person who carries that particular medicine into this world. And you can step boldly on the stage and give that medicine away, but as you yourself, as an individual expression of that starlight. And when you're healthy and carrying the medicine that you have been given and express that on an individual level, that's what I call a healthy ego. You experience the power and love and beauty and gift of your presence as a unique expression of that higher power. And there's no hesitation in your stepping boldly out into the light and showing that light to others. So that's when a person doesn't have that deep self-love and appreciation for the gift that they are to the world as an aspect of the higher power, then they'll be tempted to, in an unhealthy way, blow themselves up. There are two images that came to me in that respect. What do a pufferfish and a toad have in common? Anyone? When they feel threatened, don't they blow themselves up? So, who's the pufferfish and who's the toad when we look at what just happened on the world stage? Doesn't Kim Jong-il kind of look like a little toad? And Donald Trump the pufferfish? Okay. I'm not meaning to demean these people because they are our brothers and sisters, but it really is a demonstration of that medicine, of unhealthy ego. So anytime we felt like we needed to appear as more impressive than we actually feel deep down inside to gain the approval of another, we're either pufferfish or toad. And we present ourselves as a little more accomplished or advanced than we know we are to gain the approval of another. Well, that can be extended out and expanded, to outrageous heights, and that's what we're seeing in Donald Trump. So, healthy ego is when you've settled into yourself and you've really become the living star of your own reality, where that star inside you just shines outward. It's no longer looking for or needing a sun revolving around it as an external light to give you purpose. and direction. You can then share that stage with other suns, have a great time, become a constellation of stars. But it's no longer required in order to confirm the deep value and brilliance of your own inner star. And those are the people that become radiant living examples of a particular aspect or quality of being that only they can then contribute to the greater world around us. And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. Each one of you has that unique gift that only you can provide. And that's healthy ego. Own it. Embrace it. Be it. No excuses about it. No hesitation about it. And if you hesitate, then there's this process ongoing now, especially with the solar eclipse, of really just saying, okay, wow, this is unique to me. This is a real beautiful quality that I can bring into the world because of the uniqueness of my life experience and soul history. Each one of us has a unique historical base of wisdom in this life, but also in others. And because of that, there are certain teachings and qualities of being that only you, as a person, can bring to others. So that's really the heart of this opportunity that's being given and seeded by this particular solar eclipse. Okay, so in a way, the solar eclipse can mark a turning point of a new sun. It's like the old sun dies and a new sun emerges, and it's in a period of 2 minutes. The moon appears to want to take the place of the sun during the eclipse. She fits right over the disk of the sun. But realizing that she can't do that, then the sun reappears and the true light of our heart then emerges on a new level, and the higher dimension of commitment, deepening into the diamond heart. So those of us who are actually going to be witnessing the eclipse really notice people and situations that evolve around you during that time and shortly after, especially the 2 weeks following. And you'll notice that the clarification you're seeking will then open the way for you to understand the full nature and depth of the shift that actually had occurred inside your being beyond your level of consciousness. So any questions at this point? Comments?
I just come to your reference to Donald Trump, which is really very important. Knowing it's not a great strike in our country.
Can you come up further, because I can't hear you?
Sure. I'm reacting to what you said about...
Come on up further.
Sure. Not that I have anything really to add to what you said. I thought what you said was important and good.
Mm-hmm.
But particularly in a time where the forces of strife are assembling to do battle,
Mm-hmm.
your point that we owe a sense of gratitude
Mm-hmm.
that we can learn in the negative as well as the positive.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump, for all of his foolishness, is giving us an opportunity to reject with much greater finality than we have in the past
Mm-hmm.
the kind of authoritarian arbitrariness and fomenting of strife that we see under his regime at this moment. So I wanted to thank you for that insight, and also I'm interested in how you link that with this phenomenon of the solar eclipse that is coming up right now, right in front of us.
Yeah, it's because the solar eclipse falls right on Donald Trump's ascendant. The rising sign is the personality or persona that we project out into the outer world. It's the body itself. We have 3 primary signatures in a chart. The sun is the spirit, the moon the soul, and the rising sign or ascendant is the body. So whatever falls right on our ascendant is like experienced directly in our own personal persona, and we become a representation of that in our own persona or personality. It's the door we walk through every time we walk out to the outer world. So the fact that this eclipse is falling right on Donald Trump's ascendant suggests to me that he personally, as Donald Trump, is a demonstration of the nature of this turning point, personally and globally. He's a real demonstration of that. So he can demonstrate the higher aspect or the lower aspect.
And it's a very hopeful interpretation.
Yeah.
I think it's one that our people in this society need to ponder, will benefit from considering, rather than the going to battle and more street demonstrations that are ultimately counterproductive and damaging to many individuals.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that insight very deeply. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for, what's your name?
Carol.
Carol really brought that up too, so thank you for that. Yeah, the Saturn Lilith in Sagittarius, that is such, it's actually the most powerful signature in the chart of the eclipse, does suggest that because Saturn is your integrity, how you rise to full adult stature, how you take a stand in the integrity of your being. Lilith would say, well, you have the temptation of taking the authority that you've achieved through your own personal experience and what you learned from it, and trying to impose that on others around you by appearing as the only way, the one way, the only way to the truth, the right way. So that's where we see the polarization occurring between the alt-right and the alt-left, if you want to call it that. Because each is convinced that they, through their own personal experience, has achieved a level of authority and wisdom in knowing what's the right way is. So in our own personal lives, we can get caught in it ourselves and really polarize against others and attempt to impose our way upon them, believing that our own personal experience, quote unquote, trumps theirs. And we're seeing that being played out also. So there are times to really take a stand in the integrity of your being, but you're not doing so in a polarized way where you're perceiving the other as the enemy or opposition. You're being clear in declaring your truth, but leaving the way open for an alternative understanding to show itself in the process of that dialogue or that sharing. You're not putting your full weight down and closing the door on the finality of what you're sharing. You're saying, this is the best I've been able to realize through my own personal experience to this point in my life, and if you have a more conscious view or a better way, I'm listening. I'm willing to change my direction at any moment. I only hold to what I believe I know. I only hold to it lightly, because it's the best I could do to that point in my journey back home. So if you have that attitude, you can stand up and speak loudly and clearly about, and with integrity, about the truth that you've realized at that point in your life, without appearing to be inflexible about that stand, but listening to the response you receive and saying, yeah, I'm learning, we're all learning here. And if you have something to add to what I've just shared that's going to inform me to a better way, a more conscious way of being in this world, I'm listening. And I'm willing to change what I think I know on a dime. But so if you have that kind of dialogue with someone, then you can really experience the dialogue as an exploration and not a contest of ideologies, but an exploration of ideas and ideologies that can lead to a more conscious and fully understood way of being with ourselves and the world around us. And you see this emerging now because of this Charlottesville disaster, where there are others who are like listening more now. They're emerging as saying, we need to hear you, we need to listen to what you have to say, so that we can really understand or comprehend your life experience. rather than believing that I can impose my ideas upon you without having first heard you. So that's a beautiful development that's going on as a consequence of this polarized stance that people have taken. Go ahead.
What is your take on the 5 retrogrades that are going on right now, also too, that are happening in this period of time?
Yeah, the outer planets being retrograde is a yearly experience of our deepening our understanding, because anytime something's retrograde, we're going inward more so, and digesting the experience of the prograde period, and having to reflect upon the deeper meaning of experiences we've had that relate to our greater understanding of the world around us. But the Mercury being retrograde, those personal planets, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, where we really go through the personal process of really understanding how to take our place in the world and the personal gift we have to the world around us. Because those other retrogrades we tend to experience on the global level, on a societal level, unless it's particularly impacting your chart, going back and forth over a personal planet, like Saturn being exactly on Trump's moon. He's experiencing this global teaching that's unfolding through Saturn and Lilith personally. I mean, they don't get any more personal on the moon, in his own family. And now Bannon is going after, his own son-in-law. Like, this whole thing is just turning into a little bit of a different story than he had imagined. And it's a grand teaching for all of us. Yeah. So let me take one quick look at the calendar and see if there's anything else that pops out here. Yeah, a significant day of clarification will be the 26th of August. The sun will quickly go into Virgo after the solar eclipse in Leo on Tuesday at 3:21 p.m. Pacific time. And then Mercury being retrograde in Virgo, the Mercury is backing up toward the sun and will combine with the sun on the 26th of August. That's a week from today, next Saturday. And that's a real point of clarity and a turning point in understanding of the nature of the shift. And then Mercury will be sitting on the solar eclipse point from September 2nd through the 7th. Go direct on the 5th. So it's basically just stationing right on the eclipse point. That's a really powerful window. Jupiter will conjunct Haumea on the 8th. Haumea is the Hawaiian goddess of creation. Jupiter in Libra is ruled by Venus, so there's a tremendous opportunity here, building for this profound resolution of love and understanding emerging amidst all the changes that are occurring to open the heart. And then Mars will conjunct the solar eclipse point on the 3rd. So we're seeing that whole first part of September through, and then we have the full moon in Pisces, very close to Neptune on the 6th of September. So, and then Mars into Virgo on the 5th of September, conjunct Regulus. So what this suggests to me is that we really need to stay with the process, not get ahead of it, not try to figure it out, allow it to reveal itself, stay present with who and what shows up as an opportunity to apply this newly empowered diamond heart in an outward manner, and be willing to be surprised, teachable, and flexible in the outcome. And if we do that and we stay present, we'll be amazed at how this new level of beingness takes shape in the outer world around us. So I'm willing to go with the magic and be surprised by the outcome rather than needing to anticipate where it's going to take us, because changes like this, where it seems so dramatic, the animal soul gets a little nervous and wants to feel secure about the future and about the outcome. So we need to pat the dog on the head and say it's going to be okay, boy.
I tell people just to go down your path, but just be ready to be diverted, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it's a lesson in teachability, because we have an opportunity to learn a great deal about our inner workings through being flexible to the medicine as it unfolds, and allow ourselves to be taken along paths that we had not explored before, and rediscover the world, rediscover ourselves through allowing ourselves to be a little uncomfortable in taking a path that we hadn't anticipated, but we know is being directed as an opportunity to learn. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, my grown son's birthday is the day of the eclipse. So what kind of wisdom would you have for him?
So is he aspiring to be president of the United States?
He's probably the polar opposite, very introverted, shy, spiritual, just lives a simple
Okay.
life.
Yes. What is your name?
Sherry.
Sherry was saying that her son's birthday is on the day of the solar eclipse. So he is, how old is he?
43.
43. So he's going through his Uranus opposition anyway, so he's going through a profound awakening. And ask him how he's doing on the day of the solar eclipse, because whatever occurs on the day of the birthday sets the tone for the entire year. So he's going to have that solar eclipse in his solar return, and it'd be really important to know whether his solar return occurs just before or just after the eclipse, and that can't be done unless you run his chart, and make a big difference in whether he finally realizes he needs to take a stand in the integrity of his being and follow his heart.
Shine those gifts.
Yeah, follow his heart, no matter where it takes him, or how well he's acknowledged.
He's on a quest of some kind of now traveling. So.
Yeah, but I would be really asking him on the day of his birthday and after who and what showed up as an omen for the coming year for him, because that's going to be significant, not just for him, because we all have this solar eclipse sensitive point in our charts now. He will be a living expression or demonstration of the quality of that solar eclipse opportunity for all of us. Okay.
Yeah, we seem to be very close right now because my birthday is September 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
he's sending a lot of pictures on his quest.
Beautiful. Anyone else? Go ahead.
You were talking about, I haven't formulated the question. I was just thinking about Trump looking for applause, but then being the bad boy kind of too. Like, is that negative attention the same thing? I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, we could get deep into the psychology of this. So she was asking about Trump looking for applause, being a bad boy. Is that what your question was?
Yeah, I mean, misbehavior, acting out, is that trying to get applause too? Maybe that's not the answer. I don't know.
Yeah. Once a human being has lost contact with their own soul, the animal soul can dominate, and then all kinds of behavior becomes possible that becomes unimaginable for us who have made contact with our soul, because we can never find ourselves doing that. And my intuition about that behavior is that he's said it all through the campaign. It's about winning, because he has associated winning with being loved, with having the interest of others guaranteed for him. Because if you don't know that you are by nature worthy of love, and that that starlight within you that's shining is love, a ball, attracts love, then you, as the animal soul, need to be very strategic about winning, because winning guarantees that others will be at your beck and call. So his bad boy behavior, his acting outside the box, is his way of winning. It's like being a street fighter. You know, you have the professional boxers who have all these rules and gloves, right? But if you're a part of a gang and you're on the street, you're going to do whatever is required to fight dirty, to win, to make sure you're going to survive that fight. That's kind of where that's what Donald Trump learned to do in the business world.
I wonder if there are examples of people changing from that.
I never exclude that possibility, because I've seen, you know, profound awakenings. Where I remember this story, this beautiful story of a skinhead with tattoos all over his body. He fell in love, right? And because of that, he went through the excruciating process of having all those tattoos burned off his skin. And he awakened, his heart awakened. He found his humanity, he returned, he made contact with his own soul. The female medicine or sorcery of women is a whole nother topic that I can dive into. Where they can literally cast spells that open the heart. And this is all connected with Leo being the sign associated with love affairs, you know. And what does a love affair do? You ever see someone who's fallen in love? They're glowing, right? Mm-hmm. It's like somebody's lit their life up. Their inner star is just like acknowledged, and they lit up like a light bulb. And the female medicine power can cast a spell on a man to awaken his heart. So that's part of what Donald Trump has been looking for, right? but not quite succeeding at, because he doesn't realize it's all about the man in the mirror. Remember that old Michael Jackson song? And he has never finally gotten off his own case and learned to love and recognize his own beauty and power. So we kind of went off on a tangent there, but I hope I answered that question.
That was great, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? I know we're all feeling it big time right now, so just stay with it and just breathe. And know that a turning point is imminent, and the nature of that turning point will gradually emerge through the beginning of the first week of September. So be patient with yourself, be patient with others around you, respect each other's space, because many people are going through deep inner turmoil right now in the nature of that shift. And take it one day at a time and watch the magic unfold. I hope.